Hey, how are you? I'm Jesse and you're watching JLS Comics. Today we're taking a look at who Deadpool could potentially face in his third film, now that we know he'll be carrying over to Marvel Studios post-merger with Fox. Deadpool could show up in Phase 5 and even as early as 2022 for his solo film, with Reynolds recently posting an image at Marvel Studios and a shell production company set up called Fingerguns Productions, LLC. Some believe an announcement is imminent, as in sometime in the next few months, and some have even gone so far as to suggest CCXP will give us a reveal, since Ryan will be in Sao Paulo during the event where Kevin Feige is to give a 45-minute long presentation on the MCU. And with all that, it's the perfect time to dive into the Rogues Gallery and see who the regenerating degenerate might square off with next. As always, I thank you for watching JLS Comics, whether it's your first time here or you're back for more. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you can be part of all our videos we make, new and old, and leave a comment below with who you'd like to see in Deadpool 3. Alright, on to the list. And with number 10, we have Lady Death. Lady Death has been tied to both Deadpool and to Thanos for quite some time. In fact, Thanos became quite jealous of Deadpool for her infatuation with Wade and not him. With Deadpool off in his old R-rated world, could there be a Thanos there that's still alive? While she collects souls from the living and is the personification of death, she doesn't really play an antagonist role to Deadpool, so she winds up in the number 10 spot. The only way it could really make sense is if the Thanos element, Josh Brolin being in both Avengers Endgame and in Deadpool 2, was brought in. Ryan Reynolds did name drop Thanos' name when he said, "Pump the hate brakes, Thanos," so there's that. Number 9, Dracula. Yes, Dracula actually hired Deadpool at one point to bring in his bride, Queen of the Underworld, a lady named Shikla. What happened was that he fell in love with Shikla and it pissed off Dracula. And that all took place in 2014's Dracula's Gauntlet by Jerry Duggan. This would give him a foe, a female element, and in the R-rated space, a very easy tie to Mahershala Ali's Blade, which could also fall under this R-rated MCU adjacent banner. In fact, one issue does contain Blade, with the synopsis calling it Daywalker vs. Smack Talker. It's a wild tale that takes them all over the world, from New York to the Mediterranean, Paris, and the Arabian Peninsula. Number 8. T-Ray. T-Ray claims to be the real Deadpool. T-Ray became a powerful sorcerer and expert in hand-to-hand combat after living in Japan. He even sold his soul for a more powerful body, and his entire reason for this was to seek revenge on Deadpool, the man who he says stole his life. That is, if he's telling the truth, of course. But that can make for an interesting story. Number 7. Red Hulk. With Mark Ruffalo's Hulk and now She-Hulk coming to Disney Plus as part of the MCU story, the world is expanding with Hulks. William Hurt's General Ross has been around since 2008's The Incredible Hulk. You know, the one with Ed Norton and Liv Tyler. Anyway, in comic books, General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross took the gamma radiation from Hulk to become Red Hulk. The next time we'll see Thunderbolt Ross is in Black Widow, maybe setting up a Thunderbolt team. Deadpool and Red Hulk were on a version of Thunderbolts. If he could take on the unstoppable Juggernaut, he can take on General Ross himself. And this could all lead to number 6, Taskmaster. Taskmaster was born with photographic reflexes. This fearsome mercenary will first appear in the MCU in May 2020's Black Widow film. It's unclear, as of this filming, it's November 2019, for those of you out there in the future, whether he'll make it out alive or not, but it does seem like a possibility. Thunderbolt Ross was spotted on set, potentially filming a Nick Fury-like scene where he's recruiting for the Thunderbolts team, and we do see him in the trailer as well. If this is the case and Taskmaster does in fact make it out, then he could go toe-to-toe with the Merc with a mouth in the future. Deadpool's unpredictability would be a really good foil to Taskmaster's skill set. They've already gone toe-to-toe in the animated space, and Tim Miller, director of the first Deadpool movie, really wanted Tasky for that film, but it came down to rights preventing it from happening, which is no longer a factor. Number 5, Mr. Sinister. Nathaniel Essex, aka Mr. Sinister, has been around for a long time. The Essex Corp was teased at the end of X-Men Apocalypse and was never really explored. Sinister is every bit the villain his name insinuates. In Marvel Comics, Sinister is always playing with DNA, clones, genetics, and it could very well have been Sinister himself who hired Ajax in the first Deadpool movie to perform those experiments like they did on Wade, which gave him his powers. And with Ryan Reynolds rolling over as Deadpool from those previous stories, I'm not quite sure how much creative control he has, but when he was with Fox, he had a ton of creative control and he could be pulling some of those story threads through with him as well. But speaking of clones, next on the list is Strife. And speaking of connections to ties to previous films, in Deadpool 2, we got a glimpse of an X-Force team. Shatterstar, Domino, Zeitgeist, Vanisher, Peter, they were all the first iteration of an X-Force team. Strife first appeared in the New Mutants comic books in the late 1980s and was revealed to be an evil clone of Cable. This would allow for a return of Josh Brolin, but in a slightly different way. Strife played right into the stories as New Mutants transitioned to X-Force and through the Executioner's Song and much later Messiah War. And in Messiah War, Deadpool is teamed with both Domino and Cable as well as Hope Summers, who appeared in a small role in the future from which Cable came. And hailing from the Weapon X program, next on the list is the unstoppable killing machine known as Sabretooth. In comic books and in Let's Pretend It Didn't Exist, although it really did, movie Wolverine Origins, they were both on Task Force X and from the secret program which weaponized their powers. One particular story starts with Deadpool believing that Sabretooth killed his parents. It could be a really bloody, messy story, and it could give us Wolverine. Just saying. Okay, so this next one would also be a carryover from Deadpool 2, although in an unexpected way. One of the bonus features for Deadpool 2 was a cutscene from the prison that held Wade, Russell, and Juggernaut, and it is Omega Red. Omega Red has carbonadium tentacles, not unlike those that Whiplash had. He's an old foe of Wolverine's and was experimented on by the KGB to turn him into a super soldier who's very maniacal. Between Whiplash, what we might get with Ursa Major, and the Soviet super soldiers in Black Widow and her ties to the Russians and the KGB, why not have another Russian named Omega Red? In terms of his power, along with his tentacles, Omega Red has the ability to shoot out these death spores, something countered by Deadpool's healing factor, and the intention to use this mutant Soviet murderer was there, but was ultimately cut. So he's very much still on the table to be used here as well, and again with Ryan Reynolds on board, maybe he'll insist on bringing that over from the previous story since it was unused. Number 1, Madcap. There was a time when Madcap was actually trapped inside Deadpool's body, in his mind. This was caused by Thor and a lightning bolt from his hammer. The voice in the head element worked really well for Tom Hardy's Venom, and it could certainly work for Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool as well. Madcap's family was killed in a bus wreck and his body fused with compound X07, a nerve agent developed by a company called AIM, and when he learned that his family died, he became mad. When he placed a cap on his head, he became Madcap. Deadpool and Madcap's paths crossed as far back as the late 90s when Deadpool joined Heroes for Hire, so they have history. It was a team that included, among others, Black Knight, who will be showing up rather soon himself. But Madcap's accelerated healing power and general craziness, along with his fun gun, would be a fun playoff of Deadpool. It could be PG-13 very easily, but also very easily delve into the dark and the R-rated realm. Anyways, that's a wrap on this one, my friends. As always, I look forward to your comments, questions, corrections, and suggestions down below. Don't forget to subscribe so you can be part of all of our videos, new and old. I'm Jesse, this is JLS Comics, and I'll see you soon.